The White House this morning honoring the late Arizona Senator John McCain, flying the American flag at half-staff, as you can see in that live picture right now, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
His daughter Megan sharing a heartfelt message, reading in part, "All that I am is thanks to him. Now that he is gone, the task of my lifetime is to live up to his example."
Jillian Turner is live in Washington with more on those remembering his legacy. Good morning, Jillian.
Good morning, guys. The response last night and this morning here in Washington, where the senator spent much of his adult life, has been mournful on both sides of the aisle, with the current administration and former American presidents all expressing a deep sense of loss. President Trump tweeting at the McCain family last night, "My deepest sympathies and respect go out to the family of Senator John McCain. Our hearts and prayers are with you." And from the vice president, commendation of McCain's military service. He says in part, "We honor his lifetime of service to this nation in our military and in public life. His family and friends will be in our prayers. God bless John McCain." And former President Obama writing in part, "Few of us have been tested the way John once was or requested to show the kind of courage that he did. But all of us can aspire to the courage to put the greater good above our own. At John's best, he showed us what that means. And for that, we are all in his debt." Former President George W. Bush also writing in a statement, "Some voices are so vibrant, it's hard to think of them stilled. John McCain was a man of deep conviction and a patriot of the highest order." From across the aisle, former President Jimmy Carter writes, "John McCain was a man of honor, a true patriot in the best sense of the word. Americans will be forever grateful for his heroic military service and for his steadfast integrity as a member of the United States Senate." It's noteworthy that both current and former leaders of the free world from all across the political spectrum here in Washington are rallying together in their grief this morning. Back to you.
That's a good point. You know, a lot of the military leaders out there as well, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Neller, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs Staff, Joe Dunford, saying that Senator McCain exemplified what it means to be a warrior. Yeah. And it's really a testament.
Secretary Mattis put out a strong statement last night, almost immediately as well, of course, from the Defense Department. And you think about when we talk about legacy and we talk about service, it's not just John McCain. He's had children who have served in our military. His father was an admiral in the Navy. His grandfather, an admiral in the Navy. So the
long
ties,
history of military service in that family. I'd also say I think that the coverage that we're seeing this morning has to be encouraging to so many of the young troops that are all over the world defending our freedom. So they're seeing what appreciation our country has for a veteran, for a war hero, for a former prisoner of war. America loves their veterans.
He did. He traveled the world, you know, quite extensively on holidays and other times, Thanksgivings and Christmases, to pay tribute, to spend time with his soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marine in Iraq and Afghanistan, who were away from their families, and he never lost that. But, you know, I can tell you, when I got to go, I was with Greta once, and we were in Vietnam, and we stood at the Hanoi Hilton. And to think that his young career began when he faced down his captors, and the legacy he leaves behind today.
So true, Griff. Remarkable. So true. Still ahead, Senator John McCain, a loyal defender of American freedom after spending 5 years as a POW.
We mentioned a short time ago that Joey Jones, you've seen him many times in our area. He lost both his legs in a bomb blast while serving in Afghanistan. He's here to discuss John McCain's lasting impact on men and women in uniform like himself. Next.
We hope to serve in helping keep America the strong, aspiring, inspirational beacon of liberty and defender of the dignity of all human beings and their right to freedom and equal justice. That is the cause that binds us and is so much more powerful and worthy than the small differences that divide us.